Hello, welcome. So today we're having a little dive right into r/am I the butthole again. We're going to judge some big old gaping buttholes. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. My goodness, it is absolutely belting it down outside. It is currently 1:06 p.m. and it is dark outside. Because the clouds are that thick and like grey, it feels like it's dusk at the moment. That is so weird. It's very strange. I do like it though, I must say. I do like it. Anyway, let's get into the story, shall we? Am I the butthole for refusing to transport packages free of charge for a company I don't even do business with? No. Without even reading the post and just going off the title. No. Last week, 2 medium-sized packages arrived at my doorstep while I was at work. I feel like I said packages wrong then. I don't know. We continue. They had my phone address on them, but the person they were addressed to was someone I had never even heard of before. Perplexed, I looked to see who sent it and called the company, but they were closed. So, I bought the packages in and stored them for the weekend. Yesterday after work, I called the company to inform them of this error. The representative asked me to print off shipping labels and use packing tape to attach the labels to the boxes. Then this company wants me to haul this stuff to a FedEx store. At this point, I put the brakes on. In the nicest way I know how, I tell the representative that this isn't my responsibility. I didn't ask for any of this. I'm already doing them a favour by storing their products in my home, plus using my own printer and tape to attach shipping labels. They need to arrange it so that the packages are picked up from my home, not ask me to drive the packages across town using my own vehicle, fuel, time, etc. Eventually, they agreed that the packages would be picked up from my home. You know, that in my head, I'd be thinking, is this some kind of like scam? Like package scam? I don't know how it would be, but I saw something the other day about people receiving packages that they did not order, and then there being like a little label on them in the front, with one of those, with one of those little grid codes. What the flipping heck are they called now? It's gone out of my head. You know what I'm talking about though, the little scanny things that you scan with your camera. What is it called? I don't know. We'll be here all day trying to think of it. And apparently then when you... QR code. There we go. Flipping heck. When you scan it, it then will, do something and, they can get your information and or bank it. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention. I just saw scam and thought that's one to look out for. So yeah, I'd be like, is this some kind of weird scam or fraud attempt or something? I wouldn't want to be touching them with a 10-foot barge pole. Put them outside, leave them there. I didn't want to be rude, but I had spent approximately 25 plus minutes on and off hold, and I found it kind of presumptuous that I was being asked to provide shipping supplies at my own expense, plus transport packages that I never ordered for a company I don't even do business with. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but this isn't my problem. I would have this little voice in my head going, oh my god, this is some kind of weird sort of thing going on, and they're trying to make me they're trying to make me traffic their extracurricular pharmaceuticals for them. No, thank you. I don't want to be part of some sort of explicit narcotics ring, thank you. So then down in the comments, OK Aioli 3897 says, not the butthole, especially when you don't know what is in the parcel. It could be a legitimate business, or it could be a front. Exactly. And then Intel Courier says, not the butthole. But there was no way that I would have wasted 25 plus minutes dealing with this. I would have left them a voicemail and hung up after about 5 minutes. It is infuriating enough to be on hold when you need something from a company, but I draw the line on hanging on the line when I am trying to do them a favour. Let them call me at my convenience, not theirs. Precisely. And by the way, I read their username as Incel Courier. I was thinking to myself, oh, they've found a way to package them and cart them off, have they now? Next post, am I the butthole for getting a mother of 2 arrested because she assaulted me at work? Again, the title kind of tells me that you are not the butthole. The hint is right there. She assaulted you, my dear. I, 19M, work in a fairly popular chain retail store. Everything started about 3 days ago when I was working the closing shift. One thing to note about our store is that if an item is not in stock, the customer can ask us to order the item to any branch of their choosing, to be delivered the next day. The woman in question walked through the doors about 2 minutes before we were closing and walked straight to the register where I was working. She looked quite rushed and started explaining that she was here to collect an order she had placed. I politely explained that the area to collect deliveries had closed several hours ago and that she would have to return tomorrow if she wanted to get her delivery. She began pleading and explained that she has been too busy taking care of her children, who were with her, to come and pick up her order. I explained that the delivery area had its own separate staff and anyone with access to the room had already left the building. She seemed frustrated by this response, but left with her children. I mean, yeah, some companies work like that, don't they? There are only specific people that are allowed to have something to do with certain areas of the store, I suppose. So say local to me, up until very recently, and I'm very annoyed they got rid of this, and I wanted to complain, but I just don't have it in me to do so. We had a deli counter, and they have now got rid of it, and I was very sad because they did the best pasties ever. But this deli counter would only be open for a certain amount of time during the day, whereas the whole actual store opens at 6 in the morning, closes at 10 p.m. at night. And quite often, they just put a little sign up that this is closed. And then people would ask a member of staff that's walking past, oh, can you go get me that off the deli counter? And they'd be like, I'm sorry, but I cannot, because the deli counter is now closed and only certain people are allowed to get stuff from the deli counter. So that makes entire sense to me. Since I was already scheduled to be working the following day, I knew I would have to deal with the woman and was dreading having them return to the store, as not only was she condescending and rude, but her children were quite loud and energetic and knocked over a lot of shit, which I had to clean up. Oh, I hear you. I worked a good few different retail jobs when I was younger, and you'd have to drag me in, kicking and screaming, to work in retail again. Let me tell you that for free. I salute retail workers wholeheartedly, and I always try to be really, really nice to retail workers because, my God, they have the worst job ever having to deal with the public. They really do. The following day, I was about halfway through my shift when the woman walked up to my register and placed a candle on the counter, which I rung her up for, and then she started demanding that I track her order as she went up to the collections area and they were unable to find the parcel. I checked the system and noticed that the order was placed over a month ago, so I told her that because she had not picked up her order within the 14-day window, the order had been likely sent back to the warehouse. As they do, yes. She flew off the handle, saying it was all my fault and if I had just let her get the parcel yesterday, everything would have been fine. I tried to explain to her that the parcel would have already been sent back weeks ago, but before I could even finish my sentence, she picked up the candle and threw it at me. See what I mean? Retail workers, patience of a saint they have, bless them. It was one of those candles in a glass jar, and it hit me in the temple and smashed to the ground. Flipping heck, those candles are heavy and hard and straight to the temple. Oh, you poor thing. And I ended up falling and hitting my head on the wall behind me. As I was trying to get up, she started shouting even louder and started throwing other various objects at me. This commotion must have attracted security, as they ended up taking her to the back and held her and her 2 children there until the cops showed up. And my manager told me to go to the break room until she called me on my headset. I ended up sitting in the break room for about an hour and a half until my manager walked in with the cops. They sat down and started asking a bunch of questions about what had happened. I told them everything. Then they asked me if I wanted to press charges on the woman. And even though I was not seriously injured, outside of a bruise on my head, I told them that I would. Yeah, because again, that could have caused actually really a lot of damage. Those things are heavy, and your head is, unfortunately, a lot more delicate than it realistically should be, considering it holds our brains. My manager then told me to clock out early and said that I could take the rest of the week off. You have a bloody good manager as well. Round of applause for that manager. My goodness, we don't see this often. When I went home, I told my mum everything, and she called me a heartless asshole and told me that she didn't raise me like this. OP, is your mum also the type to throw objects at retail workers? Just wondering. She said that I should have thought about the impact that it would have on the woman's children to have their mother in jail, and that I wouldn't understand how difficult it is to be a mother. As a mother? Okay, I hate when people do this on the internet in comments, by the way, go, as a such and such, but I'm using it for this one time, okay? Let me be. As a mother, I can tell you for absolute certain that I am not about to go and take my 2 kids into a shop and start throwing things at shop workers when I don't get my own way. Because do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? That is a terrible impression on the children of how we act and treat other people. Do you know what also concerns me? That violence was her go-to when she didn't get her own way. Do you know what you don't get with kids very often? Your own way. They like to fight you tooth and nail about fucking everything. So that makes me concerned about what she does to her kids when they don't do what she wants, which kids are notoriously known for doing, you know? I initially thought I was in the right, but after talking to my mother, I am now second guessing myself. So I just want to know, am I the butthole? Absolutely not. So then down in the comments, it's the Irish in me says, what about the impact of learning from mum that it's okay to assault someone and get no consequences? Precisely. Your mum is wrong. You are not the butthole. But she is. Yeah, exactly. And then Lissa Bryan says, yeah, I'd say the children have already been impacted by having that woman as a mother, so having her sent off to jail might actually improve their situation. And then Broken Truck says, if she does that to a random stranger, what does she do to her children? Thank you! Exactly! Edited to add, she could have caught a candle upside her own head. Some people fight back like Twisted Tea-Man. That would have at least taught her kids, if you F around, you find out. Next post, am I the butthole for calling my ex-roommate when cops came looking for her? So, I, 28F, had a roommate from September to October, just someone needing a stepping stone until they got a place of their own. Found out we were both on probation, but nothing really came of it. We both met with our POs, kept court appointments, it was all fine and dandy. She moved out after getting a place, and today a cop came to the door. I went through the safety measures of asking him to identify himself and show a badge, all the safety measures people tell you to go through when you're a female living home alone. He asked if my ex-roommate was home. I explained she moved out, and he asked if the address he had was her new address, and I confirmed the new address. And he asked if 555 555 5555 was her number, and I said yes. He asked me to call her, and I said sure, not thinking much of it. I called her, and as soon as she heard his voice, as he did the gimme motion for the phone, I did not hand him my phone, just put it on speaker. She hung up, and then texted me saying, how dare I betray her, and not just lie to the cops that I had no clue where she was, and I should have said that she was out of state, or lied and said that she was there but in the shower, or literally anything to avoid her talking to them. What has she done? She's obviously done something, or she wouldn't be panicking like that. I told her that I wasn't going to lie to the cops, and saying that she was in the shower would just make him either 1, sit outside until she came out, exactly, or 2, since she's on probation, same as me, he could potentially come in for a wellness check on her if she's not out of the shower after a period of time. Exactly, and then the policeman's going to go, you're on probation and you just lied to me, so now you are in trouble too. And telling them that she's out of state when you need a PO's permission to leave the state is also a horrible idea, because a warrant for her arrest would be put out, and if they find and arrest her, I could get in trouble for lying to them. And she snapped back with, did they threaten to throw you in jail if you didn't call me? You're a lying asshole. I don't want to talk to you anymore, and anything I have there, I'll figure out how to get out of there because I can't trust you anymore. All she left here was a diamond art painting and a library book. Hey, some of us are very attached to our books, thank you very much. My friend said that I did the right thing because even her not on probation would have done the same thing and called her saying that the cops were looking for her. My friend's wife said I could have just not answered the door or just declined to say that I knew her or her phone number. But I mean, he could see me from the living room cooking in the kitchen. It's a ground floor open plan apartment and the living room is a direct line of sight to the kitchen from the window, so I could see my fridge and stove from the outside when I walked to my door, same as the cop could see. I feel like I did the right thing, but I'm not too sure. Just figured I'd get outside opinions because now her friends are texting me saying I really pissed her off and friends don't rat friends out to the cops. Edit. They did go to her apartment yesterday looking for her and she didn't answer the door. She told me that she wasn't going to answer the door for the cops because she didn't want them to kill her. Okay. When I told her about tonight, that it was just legit just a pack of papers in his hand, she said, well, they won't meet me in public and I ain't letting them talk to me at my place. I'll leave the state if I got her. I told her that that was a terrible idea because then she'd get a warrant and I'd probably get in trouble even more because I knew of her intent to flee the state. But she just read my message and said, blocked. Now I can't message her or call her again, so I don't know what to do if they come back looking for her. So down in the comments, otherwise text 5772 says, yeah, someone you meet in passing is not worth going back to jail for. Friends don't put you in that situation in the first place. I had a friend who asked me to steal meds from the hospital I was working at. Holy poo, don't do that. Sometimes you got to assess what you're willing to risk, and you weren't willing to risk your freedom. And then too much for me says, my old friend did that to her other bestie, in air quotes, and when she was told it wasn't something she would do, the bitch threatened to call the lady's boss and rat her out for stealing. I saw her in a whole new light that day and never trusted her again. Not cool. Am I the butthole for leaving my children's step-siblings in the care of their babysitter when my ex and his wife were in an accident? I, 32F, have 2 children, 11 and 10, with my ex-husband, 34M. We divorced 7 years ago and have not been able to remain on good terms. He remarried 3.5 years ago and the bad blood between us grew worse at that point. She was never happy about my presence at school functions for the kids and she'd always make a point of sitting between me and my ex and complaining that the kids would hug me first. But that wasn't the worst of it. At one of those school functions, she accused me of pinching her daughter. Luckily, others saw what happened and knew that I hadn't, but this woman went ballistic accusing me. Why? I stopped her 4-year-old at the time from falling over. Oh, she needs to grow up. After that, I made sure that I sat on the other side of any room as them, and I swore that I would have nothing to do with this woman's children. She has 2. The lucky thing for me is that my kids aren't close to them and don't ever ask to invite them over or include them in birthday parties that I throw for them. This makes it easier to keep my distance so no more accusations come my way. And this woman still brings up the pinching accusation and how she should have called the cops and had me thrown in jail. She sounds like an absolute delight now, doesn't she? A few weeks ago, my ex and his wife were in a car crash. It was his custody week. We split the kids 50-50. His babysitter called me after they didn't come back home and told me that she had no idea what to do, and I was one of the emergency contact numbers given. I tried calling him and he didn't answer, and then I got a call from his mum who told me about the accident and the fact that they would be in hospital for a while. I told her the babysitter had called me and that they might want to send someone for the younger kids. After that, I went and picked up my kids. The babysitter wanted me to take or stay with all 4. Absolutely not after the stuff before. My kids wanted me to come home and didn't want their step-siblings there. I told the babysitter the other kids weren't mine, and I gave her my ex's number so she could call since ex gave her mine and a number that wasn't working as the emergency contacts. The kids and I stopped by the hospital the next morning and my ex was pissed that I left his step-kids with the babysitter and didn't do more for them. I refused to engage with him on that in front of our kids, but his anger intensified when, from the sounds of it, nobody in his or her family would take care of them. He wanted me to do it. I said no, and I told him I was nothing to his stepkids, nor would I ever be anything to them, and I was not risking his accusation-happy wife trying to destroy me with her lies. My ex is still pissed at me, and he has called me every name under the sun since the accident. His wife was hurt more seriously than him, and she's not even close to fully recovered while he mostly is. I think that's fueling this more, but his anger towards me has led me to document all interactions we have now because he's so volatile with me. He told me that I should be ashamed for taking our issues out on his stepkids. I feel like I did the right thing because those kids are not my concern, even under the circumstances. My concern is more about any accusations she could throw my way and how that would affect me being a mum to my kids. But I can see where that might be heartless given what the circumstances were at the time. Am I the butthole? No! Obviously not. Like, you would have to be crazy to risk getting into some sort of issue where she accuses you of doing something, when those kids were in the OP's care. Absolutely not. And I would do the same. I'd be like, I'm not picking them up. This is not my problem. I will not be having anything to do with this because I am not risking any accusations. I 100% agree. Her family can deal with it. And then Affectionate Lock 9541 says, I think the main issue for me is in a 2 families, not a single person helped out. That says a lot about how people feel about the ex and his wife. Exactly. And then Mermaid Paint says, yep, ex-hubby should be asking himself why nobody stepped up from his family and friends, or his wife's. He won't, of course. And then Bizarre Cujo says, for real, I want to know how the conversation went with her family, the kid's actual blood relatives. He and his wife need to take a long-ass look in the mirror. Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, so I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, that is your initiation into the Coven of Void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye.